Hello and welcome into SportsZone. I'm your host, Trey Francis, and we're going to talk about these Mavericks because they are hot and it's playoff time. And here to talk about it with me, I have Anthony Council and Isaiah Ortiz. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you first. I mean, Luka and Kyrie, we've talked about them all semester long. It doesn't get much better than that.
Right. I mean, they've just been an amazing duo, everything they could have asked for and more. Going back to last season, you kind of felt the gap that Jalen Brunson left when he left for New York. Now you have Kyrie and Luka. Little bumpy start, but now they're figuring things out, and they could win a ring this year.
Yeah, that team chemistry, and Anthony, you've seen them. You saw that video where they had their arm around each other and they're walking off the court. I mean, what does that mean for this Mavericks team?
Yeah, I think you hit really off the dome. I mean, them not being able to make it to the playoffs last season, giving them a full season. Yes, I mean the difference in both of them of their play when it comes to Kai playing 58 games and Luka playing 70 games. I think the combination of both of them of how they've created a chemistry. For example, that Denver Nuggets game, I mean, that was such a huge game. That was a pinnacle for them. Kyrie knocking down the floater from his left hand, that was probably one of the biggest plays that he had in his career. I think that when you see the chemistry from both of them and how they are able to play, having two finishers on the outside and the inside with the creativity of Kai and the creativity from Luka, especially from the three and shooting it deep, I think that it's really going to help them when they play the Clippers this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, you just mentioned it. Whenever you play the Clippers, you need your team to not only have consistency, but also depth. And they did make a couple moves, I guess that was kind of a while ago now, what it seems like. But picking up Gafford in Washington has been crucial for this team, Isaiah. How has that impacted both the offense and the defensive side of the ball for the Mavs?
Well, you want to talk about offense and defense. They've had a top 5 offensive rating and defensive rating team since the trade deadline. And that usually in the NBA mixes for a championship team. So obviously those two acquisitions were huge for any championship hope for the Mavericks. And it's going to be huge because the Clippers do have good wings, which P.J. Washington can defend, and they have a big that you got to keep off the boards. Daniel Gafford is looking to provide that rebounding and that rim protection too with a team with Kawhi, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they had in 2011, right? I mean, they had Tyson Chandler and they had Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, back in 2011, you had two bigs. Now that you got Gafford in Washington, that's huge, especially with Derek Lively. Hopefully he gets back from injury. I think that's really what the Mavericks really needed. Last year they didn't really have a lot of bigs, but now they're able to have that foundation that you need to really challenge the Clippers this upcoming weekend because, I mean, you got Paul George, you got Kawhi, and you even got Zubac as well. And so I think that the biggest difference is that they have the bigs on the inside that can really challenge them.
Yeah, no, Anthony, you just touched on it, but the Mavs, I mean, they've been good, but there's also kind of some struggles on this team. I mentioned a few weeks ago, but the free throw shooting, whenever a game comes down to the clutch, you got to be able to make those free throws. We saw what happened last time when we played the Rockets. The Rockets missed their free throws. The Mavs took advantage and ended up beating them in overtime. And Isaiah, what other struggles have you seen from the Mavericks team? You think maybe need to be cleaned up if they want to have a shot at the ship?
Yeah, the one great thing I haven't seen from the Mavericks is they're lacking a consistent third option, right? When P.J. Washington got here, he was slumping. He wasn't shooting good from three. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. has just kind of been a mess since the All-Star break. So that's what I think is going to come down to. Is there going to be enough help for Luka and Kyrie to win these 7-game series? Because it can't just be them. You go back to 2022 when they made that Western Conference Finals run. Yes, it was Luka. Yes, it was Brunson. But it was also Spencer Dinwiddie averaging, I believe, about 15 points per game that entire playoff run. So you're going to need a guy like PJ, Tim Hardaway Jr., maybe even a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. to step up for timely buckets. But it's going to be very important going down the stretch.
See, but I disagree with that, though. I think they have a third option, but it's not someone that you would expect. I think Dante Exum has really been that third option for the Mavericks. Now, I get it. He's not that superstar talent that he may have thought that you wanted him to be. But I think when you look at how he's played, you look at his efficiency, especially from three, knocking down buzzer beaters to really give the energy back to the Mavericks when they're down a couple. I think having Dante Exum as your third best option, and even if Tim Hardaway Jr. isn't having a great night, or even if the bigs are having a great night, I think leaning on Dante Exum can really help them to propel to get to the next level.
Yeah, we all have kind of different opinions there. I mean, I think that Hardaway, I would probably consider him as the third for the Mavericks. I mean, based on a game-to-game basis, you have different players hopping in there, but it's always Luka and Kyrie at the top. So let's talk about these Clippers and Mavs. It's going to be a heck of a series, but what do the Mavs need to do to, propel themselves to win this game? I'll go to Isaiah first.
Yeah, I do think they just need to play through Luka and Kyrie, obviously, and then also just force mistakes from the Clippers. They're a very turnover-prone team. James Harden, when it gets to playoff time, he's also very turnover-prone. So I do think you need to apply the pressure. We don't know how healthy Kawhi Leonard is going to be for Game 1. He's very uncertain. So I think one of the best defensive teams in the NBA needs to show that they are one of the best defensive teams left in the league.
Yeah, and the Mavs on the season, they went 50-32, while the Clippers went 51-31. So, Anthony, a pretty close matchup, and I'm willing to say that this series is probably going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the past couple series with the Clippers and the Mavericks, the Clippers have really beaten them multiple times within this series throughout the past probably 3 or 4 years. I think the biggest difference is now you have Kyrie Irving, you have a closer. You have someone who's not afraid to take the big shot and also not afraid to share it with another superstar, as we've seen him do with LeBron James in the past. I think the biggest difference that is going to help the Mavericks win this series is they have a chemistry that's already under control. The Clippers in the past, I mean, in these last couple games, it hasn't been such a smooth sailing ride. It's kind of been a little bit of it's kind of been rocky, excuse me. And so I think that with the Mavericks having a very good chemistry with Jason Kidd, having them on the right track, I think that it's going to be a really even match series, and I think the Mavericks are going to take the win with Kyrie and Luka learning how to share the ball at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to share the ball, share the dough, right? But let's talk about other teams that the Mavs might need to worry about later on if they do get past this series against the Clippers. I'm thinking, that we know there's that tough Thunder team, Isaiah. I mean, who do you think the Mavs are going to struggle with?
I think right out the gate, the Clippers are probably going to team they struggle with the most because on paper, it's the most even series they're going to face potentially up until the conference finals. And then also it seemed like Minnesota, they match up with them very well too because they have 2 very good perimeter defenders in Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards, and they have the size and Cat and probably the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, to match up with Gafford. They played well through their bigs, but Minnesota easily has the bigs to match up with that.
And Anthony, who do you think the Mavs need to worry about the most?
Yeah, I think, you really said it. The Timberwolves have a very good squad. The last time they played them, the Timberwolves took the win. Anthony Edwards is on another level now. But I think if you face the Suns again, and that's a big possibility with how they're playing, because the Suns have had a up and down type of chemistry, and not going to lie, they're kind of lucky they made it into the playoffs. But I think if they face the Suns again, I think it's going to be a very different matchup because you have KD, Bradley Beal, and you have the likes of Devin Booker, and their chemistry is kind of coming together. So I think it's either going to be the Phoenix Suns or it's going to be the Timberwolves with Ant and Cat and Rudy Gobert because you have 2 bigs and you have Anthony Edwards who's really emerging into a superstar talent.
And yeah, what it's going to take to win and get to that to the dance is your big 3 guys have to step up. And the Mavs, like we mentioned already, they've kind of had an unclear 3 guys while these other teams have solid. So I'm going to ask y'all real quick, are you going to take the Mavs, top 3 with that third one being questionable, or are you going to go to the Clippers main 3? I'm going to go to Isaiah first.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Mavs here just because there's too much uncertainty for me with the Clippers. James Harden's not James Harden. I don't know what's going on with Kawhi's injury. And I just think overall the Mavericks are the better team. The Clippers have the better roster, but I think overall the Mavericks play better as a team.
True that. And Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, the Mavericks have all the pieces intact. They have a chemistry that is unmatched, and they have the talent. That's the biggest thing. Their talent matches what's on paper. Kyrie Irving is able to be a closer. Luka is just going to do what the Don does as usual. And I think if everybody comes correct and they play their type of game, I think they have a real possibility of making it to the conference finals ultimately against whoever they play. Because at the end of the day, you have 2 amazing closers, and they could do anything when they put their minds to it, as we've seen time and time again.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and go to our championship predictions here. You pick your 2 teams and tell me who wins. Isaiah?
Well, my Heat probably aren't going to win the championship this year, but I'm going to roll with Denver Nuggets over the Boston Celtics. Ultimately, I think the fourth quarter Nuggets get it done yet again.
And Anthony?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Your Heat probably not going to do it. I mean, look, they had a chance. No, they had a chance. They had a possibility. I'm going to go with, if it's Denver and Boston, I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics.
All right, and I'm actually, this sounds a little bit crazy. I'm gonna go the Celtics against the Mavericks.
That's not a bad pick. That's really not.
If the Mavs can string together that consistency that we've been talking about, we could see them there, but you just don't know. So that's going to do it here for us on this Mavericks and NBA block. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about some NBA awards and who we think is going to win. So make sure to not go anywhere.
I'm here to rescue you.
Oh, my prince.
Não sou fácil.
This story is going to be awesome.
Good evening, my name is Amanda Hasbell and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my god, this girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my god.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our mean green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Hello and welcome back into SportsZone. And now we talked about the Mavs and the NBA, but now we're going to talk about the whole league and these awards that we think should be passed out to certain players. And here to talk about with me, I have Jay Lathan and Jalen Bullock. And Jalen, I'm going to go to you first. Let's talk about the biggest one. We're going with MVP first. So who do you have on your list?
All right, so my pick is going to be Nikola Jokic again. Of course, he is the best player on the best team, in my opinion. I know the Celtics have the best record, but I really like the Nuggets this year. You're, of course, averaging 26.4, 12.4 rebounds, 9 assists. 1.4 steals, just dominant on both ends. When he plays, the Nuggets are statistically the second best team. Because of that reason, there's no other reason that someone else should be MVP.
Yeah, and he's definitely a difference maker out there. You just listed off the stats. I mean, he's been solid, and whenever he's out there, he's making them a whole nother level of a team. So, Jay, what else do you think? Do you have Nikola Jokic on your team or on your MVP list as well, and why?
I mean, he's definitely a consideration, but you guys got to remember, voter fatigue is very real.
True.
And what is that? 3 in a row? No way that's happening in this day and age of haters in the media. But I mean, you got to talk about Shea. Shea in OKC, the man is averaging 30. That's number 3 in the league right now. He's got 6.2 assists and 5 rebounds, and he's leading the league in steals as well. So you can't deny that he's not playing both sides of the ball there. And he's led OKC to the 1 seed. This is a young squad. Everybody pretty much just gave the West to the Nuggets, and they came in and they snatched it at the end. So you got to give him his props there.
All right, I did not expect that, but now we're going to go ahead and roll on to Rookie of the Year. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same across the board, but we're going to find out. Jay, I'll go to you first on this one.
I mean, the obvious pick here is Wemby, man. I mean, the alien has just done it all. I mean, he has 21 points a game. He's got 10 rebounds. That's also top 10. And he has 3.9 assists as the 5. I mean, that's a great number as a youngin in this league in a struggling Spurs squad where he primarily is the offensive source. I mean, he's shooting 46% from the field, and he shooting 32 from 3, which is exceptional from a big. And I mean, if he says he's only 15% started in his potential, we have to be scared for the league.
Yeah, that is a crazy stat. And like you said, Jay, whenever he's out there, he's both the offense, the defense. I mean, he might as well be the coach, the sixth man, the bench, the point guard, the center, everywhere. I mean, he literally is everywhere. And what I really like about it, and I have him on my list as well, but he goes out there and he just dominates. I mean, the guy's huge. He goes out there, he gets those blocks. We've seen those games where he goes and he gets those, 8, 9, 10 blocks. Like, how? Nobody else is doing that. That is an absurd number. Jalen, did you have someone else, or
no?
Did you roll
like
with
all
him?
of America, Victor is my pick. Going back to those blocks, leading the league in blocks, 3.6 a game. I mean, just really a generational talent. And if this is just the beginning, man, the sky's the limit.
A whole block ahead.
Yeah, no, pretty much. And now let's go ahead and roll on to our Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to roll mine first. Rudy Gobert. I mean, he's been a pretty dominant choice all season long, getting it done. I mean, what else do you guys have to say? Jalen, I'll go over to you first.
So this may be a hot take, but I'm going to go Wembanyama for my Defensive Player of the Year as well. Of course, Gobert is consistently one of, if not the best defenders. He's also the best defender on the best defensive team. But when you're thinking of the Defensive Player of the Year, it's the player and not the team. Wembanyama, when he is in the paint, the presence that he has never been seen before. players are afraid. There will be a 3-on-1, and players are afraid to challenge him. We have never seen that before. Like the way that teams play offense has completely changed because he is on the court, and because of that, there's no other choice, in my opinion, besides him.
Yeah, but with him being a young guy, I mean, he still has that room to grow. And like you said, his defensive presence, it's definitely known to other players across the league. But I just don't see it. Jay, what are you thinking here?
And I mean, at 7'4" and with that level of agility, it's unseen in the NBA. And that's why I can't give it to Rudy Gobert. I mean, on the perimeter, as Shaq would say, he's barbecue chicken alert. Like, he's cooked on the perimeter, and they take him out at the end of games. It's obvious. So he's not a defensive closer, so he can't be the defensive player of the year. But personally, for me, I'm going to switch it up. I do like Wemby, but I think Anthony Davis has really taken it up a notch, man. I mean, he has a 109 defensive rating, and I mean, that's well above league average. I mean, he also has 12.6 rebounds. This is the first time where he's really just committed to being the 5, and he's fourth in the league in blocks. Like, that's pretty, this is an unseen level of AD that we haven't seen in a minute.
Yeah, I did not expect us to have 3 different picks there, but hey, you never know. I thought I was going into this thinking, okay, maybe we'll all 3 have a lot of these same picks across the board, but I guess not. So now we're gonna move on to our sixth man of the year, and Jalen, I'm gonna go to you first on this one.
All right, so I think this is going to be one of the closest races. I think it's going to come down to Malik Monk and Naz Reid, but I'm going to lean more at Malik Monk. He has the most points off the bench at 1,110, averaging 15.4, shooting 35 from behind the arc. Just a consistent player on a pretty solid Kings team, has been able to step up, when De'Aaron Fox, was out for a period of time. I'm going to just really help the Kings change the way that they are as a team. So that's my pick for sixth man.
Yeah, I'm going to go here. I'm going to have to agree with you there. I mean, whenever you look at the numbers and kind of break that down, he definitely has Reed beat, and he's really helped his team as well. Jay, did you have something different? You're going to agree with us on this one.
I mean, I definitely had those two in consideration as well. And since you went with Monk, I'll go with Naz Reid, man. He's a fan favorite. I mean, he has 2 less points, but he's shooting nearly 50% from the field, and that's something we have to acknowledge. 41% from 3. I mean, this is a sniper we're talking about. And really, I think this is kind of the engine behind Anthony Edwards that's really kept the Timberwolves pushing the pace all season.
And now we're going to skip ahead here. We're going to go to the most improved player. Jay, right back to you.
Most improved for me, I'm probably going to go Jalen Williams here. I mean, he has very similar stats to Kobe White, but I think it's the youth that's really going to set it apart here. They both are averaging 19 points a game, and they both are averaging 4 rebounds, which is even crazier, and there's only 1 assist difference. But we've been waiting on Kobe White to step up and be this guy that was just an unlimited scorer. And I mean, Jalen Williams, he's young. He's only in his 2nd year in the league, and he's finally coming to blossom so early on with this #1 seeded OKC team. And if you look at the tape, a lot of games he didn't play in, they lost. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference maker there.
And Jalen?
So I'm going to go a completely different direction. I'm going to go Tyrese Maxey. This year, he became a superstar. Had that all-star appearance. Last year, we saw the flashes around this time and heading into the playoffs. But with, losing James Harden, Tyrese Maxey really, stepped up and became the player that the 76ers could count on when you can't count on Joel Embiid. Because he is such a high product guy, he may, not be able to get that award, but I think that he rightfully deserves most improved.
All right, and I guess we're going to go all different on this one, too. I'm going to go with Kobe White. He was averaging, 20 points per game. Jay, you mentioned it already, and actually had 42 points in the playing game, but too bad that doesn't count towards the stats. But I'm still going to mention it because that's pretty good, and he's out of North Carolina, so that makes him even better. But now we're going to go ahead and roll on here. We're going to go to Coach of the Year real quick, guys. Jay, I'll go to you first.
I mean, once again, we're talking about OKC really just stepping it up and claiming awards all over the place. They got the #1 seed, but we got to talk about head coach leading the charge, Mark Digano. Excuse me, that's a last name. But yeah, I mean, this was a young squad, man. They have a young pieces all over the place, and they really needed guidance there. And towards the last week, nobody really gave them a chance at the #1 seed, and now they're sitting at the top of the West, and they claimed it at the last second.
Yeah, and Jalen, real quick.
I'm going to go Mark as well. Of course, Shai is leading the way, but then you have pieces around him like Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe. Just a great roster assembled. Last season they were the 9th seed with 40 wins, up, getting that first seed with 57. Just a great turnaround in a 1-year span, and this is a team that's going to be great for years to come.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to agree with you guys there. No explanation needed. You guys covered it enough. Now let's go move on to Clutch Player of the Year. This one, there might be a couple, there might be one. We'll find out. Jay, what do you got?
I'm going to say Curry, man. He's real inspirational, man. He's the guy that's just been keeping this Warriors team afloat. I hate to see he couldn't do it at the end there where it mattered most in the playing games, but this Warriors team has just been drug along time and time again. They've been fighting through injuries with Wiggins, but in the fourth quarter, you know who they go to? Curry. It's obvious.
That is correct. And Jalen, you had him as well, I assume?
Yeah, I'm going to go Curry as well. 189 total points and 143 total clutch time minutes, shooting 45.7% from three-point range. Like, the stats speak for themselves. And, you know, Curry was a player that, for the most of his career, you couldn't really, you know, count on in clutch situations, but this year and in the later years in his career, he's just really stepped up in the big moments. Unfortunately, as a Warriors fan, you know, I'm saddened by their early exit.
All right, now we're going to go real quick to our All-NBA first team. Go ahead and give me all 5 of your guys. Jay, I'll start with you first.
I mean, obviously, you got the Joker. Then you're going to move to Giannis. Those are 2 MVP candidates. You got Tatum once again, just a young 19-year-old guy really pushing the pace, if you know Boston. Luka, of course, Dallas. He's just been the Don. And Shea, he's my MVP. Of course, he's got to be first-team All-NBA.
And Jalen, what do you got?
So mine's a little different. I actually have Giannis on my second team, and I think Jalen Brunson makes the first team.
Okay, that is interesting. Jay, I'm with you. I got Jokic, Alexander, Doncic, Antetokounmpo, and Tatum. So, I mean, you can't go wrong there. I mean, that's some good picks. But make sure that's it for our NBA awards. But now, whenever we come back, we're going to be talking about some Dallas Stars, NHL, and the PWHL. So make sure to stay tuned in.
Fabric of passion.
Oh, Hector, it will be so hard for us to part, but we must.
But, my love, what did I do? I thought we were meant to be together forever.
I am so disheartened to say that you're just not in style anymore. But you will be, to someone else, in a better place.
You're gonna shred me?
No.
I'm donating you to one of the many clothing donation boxes available on campus. There is one in the Union by the Syndicate and one on Union Circle Drive.
Oh, well, why didn't you just say so? I'm gonna be someone's new shirt.
I thought you'd be more distressed.
Oh, absolutely not. It was cramped in your closet anyways.
Maybe you would like to be shredded after all.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon.
Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not sure.
Hello and welcome back into SportsZone. Now I just said it. We're gonna be talking about NHL, PWHL, Dallas Stars. There's a lot to cover here, and to talk about it with me here, I have Matt Wagner and Jacob Calhoun. Matt, I'm gonna go to you first. Let's go ahead and start on this whole Coyotes thing. We saw it kind of come out recently. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, it's unfortunate that they had to move to Utah, and it is a little tough, but you know, it's such a storied franchise, Arizona. You had great players like Nikolai Hobby-Bulin, Teppo Newman, and Shane Doan, young Danny Briere. It's just a tough loss to a great franchise, but I think it's going to be great to see the Salt Lake City Storm and Mormons be able to get a franchise. I think it's the right move for the NHL, but just it's the right move at the wrong time, I think, overall.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely a tough decision to make overall, but what are your thoughts on it, Jacob?
Honestly, I think it was bound to happen, Unfortunately, it's under these circumstances that Arizona just isn't looking so hot right now, and I guess that's why they're moving. And, I have seen some things that Arizona wants to get another team afterwards, and they weren't able to get funding for a new stadium to begin with, which is kind of why they're moving, and that really just kind of hurts it.
Yeah, and Matt, they were playing in like the Arizona State.
Yeah, the Mullet Arena. Yeah, Mullet Arena, the 5,000 seat arena, the college arena actually, which I think is. I thought they could sell out, but if you can't sell out a college stadium, I don't think you deserve to be in your city.
Yeah, then I guess there's not really a point in moving there. But I mean, part of this leading the charge, I guess, is with the Utah Jazz there is you have the owners there. They're trying to help push this along and get it to kind of what we have with the Mavs and the Stars, where they both share the American Airlines Center and they want to share the Delta Center. They'll make changes and stuff like that. But I just don't. What do you think? What do you guys think the success would be like early on once they move there? Jacob, we'll go to you first.
Honestly, I think that I think that he'll succeed pretty well to begin with, but I think that if they don't produce well, that they won't be able to see success in having a team in Arizona or in Utah.
All right, now let's get to the NHL playoffs as a whole. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there. You know, the playoffs are here. You know, the Stars, we'll talk about them later, but let's talk about the NHL as a whole overall. Matt, you know, there's overrated teams, underrated teams in this playoffs. What are you thinking on both sides?
No, yeah, I think an overrated team, in my opinion, is the Winnipeg Jets. I know they're coached by a former coach. It's a little tough, but I don't like the way they play the game. They can't have a game plan solely based on redirects in front of the net. It doesn't work like that. An underrated team in the playoffs, you know what? I'm going to go the New York Rangers. I know they won the President's Trophy. I know that everyone expects the curse, but they have a really deep team. You know, you have Shesterkin leading the way in goal, Adam Fox, your back end. You have Panarin, who's absolutely raking in goals. I like New York's chances right now.
I'm actually going to disagree with you there. I think that the Rangers winning the President's Cup, I think they're a little bit overrated. I think, you know, you see a lot of teams, they win that, and the next thing you know, they go on to choke in the playoffs. We've seen that pretty much every year since like 2012 or something like that with like Chicago.
2012 Blackhawks.
Yeah, the 2012 Blackhawks. Thank you. But Jacob, right back to you. What teams do you think overrated, underrated? Do you agree or disagree with Matt and I?
Overrated, I'm going to agree with Matt. Definitely say the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think that – obviously they're playing the Avs in the first round, which – they just blew out the Avs, but I think that the Avs will easily bounce back and beat them pretty handily. Underrated, I'm going to have to go with, say, Bruins for underrated in the East.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about these Dallas Stars. You know, they're the hot team, best in the West. I mean, they won last night. Let's break down that game real quick. You know, they played the St. Louis Blues. Probably should have killed them, but did not. Matt, what were your thoughts on that game?
No, yeah, it's one of those games where they didn't come out, you know, with a lot of passion, a lot of fire. They just needed the 1 point. Felt like they were trying to just get to overtime at that point. And then an overtime came. I saw Ottinger make the most nonchalant, you know, greatest save of my life. You know, there was the save where he was like, you know what, if it goes in, it goes in. But he, you know, shout out Robert Thomas for at least shooting it into his paddle. So that was nice. But no, they came out. They got the point. Didn't really matter if they won or lost at that point. So I think, you know, doing that, that's a good step forward, especially that Ottinger played so good in that game.
Yeah, you can kind of say the Stars just kind of did what it would take to get by, and I mean, that's what they did. But going off that play, and Jacob, I'll let you talk about it as well. But, I mean, the whole net was wide open, and he went shooting. It just so happened to hit, you know, Ottinger's stick and redirect the perfect way. Jacob, what were your thoughts there?
I mean, watching that, it was probably the most incredible save I've seen this season alone. That and his save earlier in the game where he just straight up pushed off the goalpost and dove and blocked the shot, another wide open net. I think that Ottinger making these saves definitely is helping the Stars here, but all around, I think the Stars team kind of just came out flat to begin with, and obviously it really hurt them. Gave up that first goal, scored the second goal, or scored a goal in response, but I think going forward they need to stop playing from behind and try to score and just keep scoring first.
Yeah, it's kind of in their method of play that the Stars have liked to see over the past couple of seasons. But we talked about, you know, Ottinger, he's been solid, but whenever it comes to his backup, Scott Wedgwood, let's talk about him for a second. We saw him come in last time against the Blackhawks, I believe, and the Stars lost that game. So is he going to be, you know, questionable whenever it comes time for the playoffs, Matt?
No, I don't think they're going to look to him too much, too often. You know, he is the backup goaltender. However, I think the only time we will see him in the playoffs is if, you know, the Stars are down 3-0 in a series, or they're, you know, the backs are against the wall and you got nothing to lose. You throw him in there. That's the only time I've ever seen really a team throw in a backup goaltender. We saw that last year with the Pittsburgh Penguins throwing in Casey DeSmith instead of Tristan Jarry. So, I mean, like I said, if you're down against the wall, you got to throw them in. I guess that's the only thing I can say about that.
Yeah, it's going to be there if you're killing the opponent or if you're getting killed by the opponent is where you'll see him. Jacob, what do you think about Wedgwood?
I mean, he's looked pretty good all season. I agree. I don't think that we'll see him a whole lot in the playoffs, just if we're just getting absolutely killed. I think that's the only time we'll see him.
Yeah, let's go and talk about our top 3 players that we've liked from the Stars this year. I'll roll with mine first. I think Wyatt Johnston, he's been tearing it up. I mean, the dude's 20 years old. Come on now. And then Jason Robertson, he's been my favorite for a while now. He goes out there and he just plays. He's not the most physical guy, not the biggest guy, but he goes out there and he makes plays. And I got to give my third star to Jake Ottinger. He's been getting it done in the net. The defense struggled a little bit. We've seen them pick it up recently, but now, I mean, Ottinger's really proved himself. Matt, I'll go to you. Who are your 3 stars for the Stars?
Yeah, no, number one, I gotta go Matt Duchene. He, you know, the 1 year contract seemed to be an absolute. It was a boomer bust signing, and it's been a boom. You know, he's got 40 assists, 25 goals, 65 points, absolutely killing it. One guy, next guy is Mason Marchment, 53 points, killing it as well. Another guy, Logan Stankoven, who came in late in the season, absolutely tears it up, lit a fire under this group that was kind of, you know, middling, and it was great to watch.
And Jacob?
I'm going to have to go with, I'm going to go Sagan with my first star. You know, finally getting back up to 20 points. I think that that's really big for this team. And obviously that entire second line now up to 20 goals each. That is amazing. Then I'm going to go with, I'm going to agree and say Stankoven as well. I definitely think that Stankoven is my second star, just kind of lighting a fire under this team. Then third, I'm definitely going to go Otter.
Yeah, no, that's definitely 3 good ones right there. Now let's talk about who the Stars will have to face if they want to, you know, go make a run at the championship. And there's a couple teams out there the Stars like to struggle with. Matt, who are they?
Yeah, it's always Vegas. Unfortunately, everyone knows Vegas. We don't have a winning record against them in the playoffs or in the regular season. But as it stands right now, we are playing the LA Kings. Unless the Kings win tonight and the Vegas loses, we will play Vegas first round. So be sure to watch those games because that's going to determine who we play first round.
Yeah, definitely Vegas. I was going to agree with you right there. I mean, they've had the Stars number. We saw what they've done to the Stars throughout the season and last year's, playoffs. Jacob, did you have another team?
Honestly, the Avs. I mean, yeah, we were just talking to the Knights. Obviously, we struggle against the Knights, but watching the Stars this season against the Avs has been probably my biggest struggle with the Stars this season. You know, just heartbreak after heartbreak against the Avs.
Yeah, let's talk about a defenseman for the Stars now, Miro Heiskanen. You know, he's always close to winning that Norris Trophy, but I just don't ever think he can get it done, and I don't think he'll win it again this year. Matt, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He's a great defenseman. What some could say elite. I don't think he's elite really. He's got skating and puck handling ability. However, when you have to guys with Makar and Fox, he'll be a number 3 for the rest of his career.
And Jacob?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Matt on this. I don't think that he will ever win one in his career, unfortunately, but that's just pretty much because he's now gone from a shoot-first defenseman to a two-way player.
Yeah, let's go ahead and quickly touch on the PWHL. Matt, what has been the impact of the PWHL?
No, it's been huge for women's hockey because, you know, if you watch the games, they're very competitive in nature and spirit, and I cannot wait to see this game grow.
And Jacob?
Honestly, I think that it's huge for women in sports and just growing hockey in general.
Yeah, we see it growing a lot. You see, you know, women's college basketball growing, and now pro basketball for women is supposed to grow. I mean, it's going to be a big impact. But real quick, do you guys think that they're going to expand this league and these teams? Matt, you first.
No, they should. Eventually, I think they will. I can't wait to see a team in Dallas one time, or heck, maybe even Houston.
Yeah, I would hope Dallas as well. Jacob?
I hope that they expand a lot, and I definitely hope that they expand to the South soon so that we can get some teams down here.
Yeah, I would think a team down here would be perfect, but that's going to do it here for us on our NHL, PWHL, and Dallas Stars blog. Make sure to watch the Stars in those playoffs because they're going to make some noise. But make sure to stay with us because when we come back, we're going to be talking about some Premier League soccer, so don't go anywhere.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Why should you join Talons?
We are very welcoming to people who may be a little bit hesitant. There's people currently right now in our organization who are in leadership positions who were hesitant before to join, and they found out that they just love the organization and wanted to be a bigger part of it. They post about the football games, everything they're doing, all their events that they host.
What's the best part about Talons?
I would say meeting new people because the university, while it's a kind of small campus in terms of like physical land, there's a ton of people here. And so getting to meet all these people who have so much school spirit and love for this university and wants to spread that to other people, it's kind of like a little miniature family that we're in.
Hello and welcome back into SportsZone. Now we're going to talk about some Premier League soccer, and we just talked about it. I don't think it's ever been talked about on these airwaves, but to talk about it here with me, I have Jose Moreno and John Phillips. John, to you first, my man. I mean, who do you have winning the Premier League and why?
I have to have Manchester City. I mean, the team is so talented. They have Pep Guardiola, maybe the best manager ever, and they have a 2-point lead. I don't see them choking that to Arsenal, the biggest bottlers of all time, you know?
Yeah, but the question is the lead big enough? Jose, who do you have winning?
I mean, I got to disagree with you a lot. That's kind of a just awful take. City, it's, you know, they have a 2-point lead, but they do have a pretty difficult schedule up against them compared to Liverpool's schedule. I could very much see Liverpool sneak in from behind. Unbiased, you know, I am a huge Liverpool fan. Unbiased, though, I genuinely think that they can win the league still.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Arsenal, so I guess we're going to split it up. You guys can disagree with me. I know that Man City is a popular pick, but I think Arsenal really has what it takes there. But now, Jose, you mentioned it. Let's go ahead and talk about your Liverpool. I mean, they're a big deal, I guess. But how can they bounce back and regain their form whenever they lost to Crystal Palace?
So the Palace game was a disappointment. I will say that. That doesn't usually happen for a team as good as Liverpool in the past in the league. But what's been going on with Liverpool is right now all of our strikers, especially the offense, has just been cold the past few weeks. I mean, they've been making so many chances, finding their spots, finding the moments, but just not having, you know, the capability of finishing that shot. And I think that's what's going on right now is without that confidence you have in front of the goal, how can we continue to score and play to our best ability? You know, this is a team that we don't have the best players on the planet. You fully develop them from little toddlers basically into great players, but overall, I don't know. I don't think that was a good showing for my team, really.
Yeah, and I do have to say there, I mean, the Palace, they lost their last, 13 Premier League games. Man, that's pretty rough, John.
Yeah, I mean, in prior years, when the strikers weren't finishing, you had Mo Salah to bail you out. But this year, he hasn't been the same Mo Salah. He's still scoring goals, but last year, 3 successful dribbles a game. This year, under 1. He's just not the same Mo Salah. And without that star player, if they have some rough patches in finishing or defending, they're going to struggle.
And I agree, man. I think that's one of the bad things that's going on with Liverpool is they're trying to keep that old core of, you know, Alisson, of Mo Salah, of Robertson, you know, of Van Dijk, and it's just, no, the league is changing so much. You know, we need to go younger, we need to skew younger, and no one other than those big three have really developed into the superstars that we were promised.
Yeah, with the best teams like a Manchester City, you see them integrating that youth talent from before they need to. You know, Cole Palmer, they have Oscar Bob playing this season, they have Rico Lewis, but Liverpool have kind of not bridged that generational gap very well yet.
The thing about City, though, is they don't develop their players. Other teams. Other teams buy them out and then loan them, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we'll sell them back to you for $60 million.
As a Chelsea fan, agreed.
Well, let's talk about this manager situation here for Liverpool. I mean, what are you guys thinking? Who could be the next one? What are your predictions? I'll go to John.
I mean, everything I've seen has said that Ruben Amorim from Sporting is going to be their guy, and I think that's a great hire. He plays a great style of football. He's a winner. He won a Portuguese Premier League, one of Sporting's first in the past 20 years, and I think that he is going to have them playing a style of football similar to Klopp, where the transition won't be too big and they can continue what they're doing right now.
Yeah, really solid pick. I'm going to agree with you there. Like you said, I mean, they won, you know, and they haven't won in the last 19, 20 years, which is pretty good. Jose, did you have a different pick, or are you going to agree with us there?
As much as I like Ruben as a pick on paper, I haven't seen enough experience out of him in an actual league like the Premier League, like the Bundesliga. You know, it's like taking a guy from college here in the U.S. You know, he succeeded in these lower leagues, but can he really make it in the professional setting of the Premier League? Not to say that the Portuguese league is awful and it's a minor league, but it's not on the same power scale as you'd say the Premier League. I honestly would say Julian Nagelsmann would be a great pick, but my personal pick would be Marcelo Bielsa. I think that the offensive system that he has created, the 3-3-3-3-1, doesn't roll off the tongue too easy, but it's an incredible way to see it. He's a big character, and I think Liverpool is full of managers, end of the day, who are huge characters. You have Roy Hodgson, you have your Rafa Benitez in the past, you have, as well as your Kenny Dalglish, who were players as well, and finally but not least, Jurgen Klopp. He's a huge character himself. So I think Marcelo Bielsa kind of fits that niche that Liverpool needs.
I agree. You have to you want someone from a bigger league, but they tried to go for Xabi Alonso from Leverkusen and they struck out. They tried to go for that big league manager and they struck out.
Just because he likes playing in Bundesliga and likes, he's only
and because he's waiting for Real Madrid and rejected you. I mean,
hey.
But I think Bielsa is a little washed. He cooked with Leeds back in the day, cooked with Uruguay, but when's the last time he managed a successful winning team? I mean Liverpool is a huge jump up for someone.
He took Leeds from nothing. I mean they were a first league team, right? They went up to the championship and then won the championship only to be in the Premier League, to be honestly a common fixture to see in that league. So I mean, now that they've been relegated since he left, but that shows this guy has the potential to grow with a team, and this is exactly what Liverpool needs. We're looking for a manager to lead a dynasty, not recent success. And that's what you got to do when you have cheap owners like Fender.
Yeah, that is true. Now let's talk about this core real quick, and then we'll move on to those other teams. I mean, the core here. I mean, they're getting up there in age, Jose. I mean, what do you think they're going to do here? What are they going to have to do?
I think this is the final year. Salah already got interest from Saudi Arabia. As you've been seeing, I think Salah goes to Saudi Arabia. I think Van Dijk gets sold somewhere else. I think I don't think they really keep anyone here other than Robertson in this youth and this whole group. Alisson could stay, but I think he's gone in the next year or so. The guy, once a goalkeeper hits 30, 32, they can last forever. But Alisson's already showing signs that he's, going through the wear and tear, and he's regressing now. The peak is no longer here. We're now here in the mountain of success, and we got to go right back up like the second city. But
yeah, on the downside for sure. But John, what did you have to add there?
Yeah, I agree. If a Saudi club offers you like 90 million, you take it for Salah. But other than that, I might keep him.
How much would you take from a Saudi club?
For Salah, the minimum I take probably like 60, 70 million. That's a decent amount. You can invest that in a young attacker, but it's not crazy.
And now let's go ahead and move on to Arsenal. Sorry to cut you off there, John, but and Jose, we can't talk about Liverpool forever. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But Arsenal, they've been having some struggles here. I mean, are they cursed? I mean, what's going on? John, I'll go to you.
Calling them cursed would be too kind to Arsenal fans. It would give those whiners an excuse. I think they're a bad team and they deserve failure, and that's what happens to them. Every time they get in a position to succeed, just the DNA of the club comes out and they say, oh, we can't win. We're a terrible team.
Yeah, but I see them. I think they're going to bounce back. You drop a couple games, it's no big deal, but I see them bounce back, Jose.
Brother, are you a West Ham fan?
Chelsea.
Chelsea. So, I mean, honestly, no. I don't think that Arsenal deserves hell for the rest of their life. Truly, no. I think that the team, to be honest, right now is being allowed too much high pressure to their heads. And I think that's what happens with a lot of Arsenal teams is they lack mentality. Arteta is a great coach, but I think he's yet to really distill a discipline of having self-confidence in a team that, to be honest, doesn't have much Premier League glory in the past 10, 15 years. They've won FA Cups, but they don't exactly have that level of confidence to be world beaters. They're still, to themselves, the 4th, 5th best team in England, and they got to get over that hump to really, keep going forward and growing and finally reaching the brass ring. But I just don't think we'll see that anytime soon. That's why I have Liverpool winning this league. They know how to grab the brass ring. They've won the Premier League more recent. I think you guys won it right after we did, huh?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Now talking, I mean, that loss to is it
Aston Villa?
Aston Villa, yeah. I mean, they're a good team, 4th place. I mean, that's not bad. John, I'll go to you first. Do you overlook that and you're like, it's okay, you can bounce back? Or is that something you kind of take more fault for?
I think you look at the team and say, we can win the remaining games, but in terms of their title race, I think Manchester City is like prime Tiger Woods. You can't slip up like that. And losing a game, if they draw, you can get past that. But losing a game in crunch time like this, it's just too much for them to overcome.
But that's why I see a team like Spurs, as a very important team right now, truly, because Spurs is the ace in the Premier League sleeve right now. I mean, they have a game against Arsenal after Chelsea. They got a game against Liverpool after Everton, their 3rd game from now. And then City's got to play them 4 games. So I think Spurs goes literally Liverpool, Arsenal, City back to back, kind of roughly. That's got to put, a banana peel in the way of any of these teams,
Definitely.
to be honest.
Tottenham are such a good team that's probably going to be the title decider of those 3 games right there.
Yeah, but now let's go ahead and move on to Man City real quick, guys. I mean, 1st place, 73 points. I mean, have they been dominant? Have they not? There's some question marks on them as well. Jose, you first on this one.
I think this is a weakened Man City, and I think this is a team that on paper is the best team on the planet. The talent they have is outstanding. The coach that they have is probably the greatest of all time, depending on who you ask. But do I see that same killer mentality in these guys that I see in Arsenal, in Liverpool, in Barcelona, in Madrid? Not really. And speaking of Madrid, that game showed that they don't necessarily have the same mentality Madrid has. Madrid was scoring hot that entire game. That was a great way to prove to you that City is just not the same team that they were last season when they won the Premier League and the Champions League. I also think it has to, sorry for cutting you off, man. I know you're reading in. Injuries have also been really unfortunate, and the sale of Gundogan. They haven't been yet to replace him, but you can speak now, John.
Yeah, John, tell me about those injuries.
I think there's 3 words. Kevin De Bruyne. He is the biggest reason that this isn't the Manchester City team you've seen of past. I mean, Erling Haaland has been a little bit underperforming compared to last year, and I think that's because he hasn't had those killer balls from KDB. And I think that
he was out for 4 months, KDB, with a hamstring, and he's not been the same. He's 32. Mm-hmm. This isn't the 26-year-old, I'm going to buy you on FIFA 15 KDB. This is 32, I have 2 children, and my wife is calling me at home, KDB.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about Pep real quick. You guys kind of mentioned it already. There are some rumors out there that he could be gone here soon. Do you guys see that actually happening? Who do you see coming in if that is the case? Jose, back to you real quick.
Again, he's won everything. Pep has won every single trophy, every single title there is to do in England. I think if I were Pep, I would take that sabbatical, take that break, and go back to Italy. Maybe take over Inter Miami, maybe take over AC Milan. I'd love to see him conquer the one country he hasn't yet. Or maybe PSG would be dope too. But I think my replacement for Pep would be Zinedine Zidane.
All right.
I think that they have the money to bring these old washed-up coaches back, and they can bring back Zidane.
I think that Pep is going to go to international management. He's talked about wanting to manage the World Cup, and I think he'll probably go to Brazil or Spain. And for the replacement, I think you have to go the storybook ending. You have to get Vincent Kompany, former captain under Pep. You have to bring him back home.
Or Arteta.
Yeah, those are definitely some good picks, but that's going to do it here for us on our Premier League block. But coming up, we're going to talk about some NFL offseason, the trades, acquisitions. It's getting crazy in the NFL, so make sure to stay with us.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroit can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space at one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
Hello and welcome back into SportsZone for our final block here. We're going to be talking about some NFL offseason. There's been some trades, some crazy moves around the league. And to talk about it here with me, I have Tiger Kent and Austin Fernandez. Tiger, I'm going to go to you first, man. I mean, which moves across the league have been your favorite and why?
There's a couple of them that I really liked. I think there's a couple that I think are overrated. I don't like the Stephon Diggs or the Joe Mixon moves to the Texans, but I have to think of moves that I really like. I really like the Raiders going out and get Christian Wilkins, just because you have 2 good edge rushers and Tyree Wilson, I know, who struggled a bit earlier in the season as a rookie, but he kind of came on late as a power rusher, and if he develops as a finesse rusher, he'll be much better. And then you have Max Crosby on the other side. I think that makes their defense so much better. And to me, honestly, the best pass defense is pass rushing. You know, you can have great corners, but if you have a great pass rush, it's going to make up for weaker corners.
Yeah, getting after the quarterback, that's tough there, but you talked about Max Crosby. We got to give him a shout out real quick. I went to high school with him. Good guy. You know, he's from where I'm from. So, a really good guy. Raiders, they're building a little powerhouse there on the defensive front. But, Austin, what do you think here? What have been your favorite moves to see across the league?
My number one favorite move was the Falcons getting Perk Thuggins out there to, be the play caller. And I think Rondale Moore might go under the rug, but I think he's going to be good, across, on the other side of Drake London. But I think with going 7-10 last season, I think the Falcons felt like they were only a quarterback away, and I think Kirk Cousins finally puts them where they need to be. Other moves that I liked was I liked the Steelers getting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Also teams that I also felt that they were just a quarterback away. Justin Fields might sit under Russell Wilson for a few weeks or even the year. And the last one I really liked, and this is my personal, because Derrick Henry is my favorite player. I really like him going to the Ravens. I thought that was a big move, even though he could have came to Dallas.
Yeah, big move there. I don't think the Cowboys could have afforded him. But I kind of disagree with you there with the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. I mean, you're just kind of throwing Justin Fields' career away. I mean, he showed some potential in the Bears, and now you're just going to say he's a backup behind Russell Wilson, who just had a bad season in Denver. Austin, what are your thoughts there?
I don't think he's a backup quarterback. I think he's going to sit and develop behind Russell Wilson, similar to what we've seen from Jordan Love. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith a year. I think that's what I really meant to say. He's going to sit behind Russell Wilson for the year until eventually getting given that starting role in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Tiger, you mentioned I like the moves, by the Texans. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but did you agree or disagree? You said with getting Diggs.
Stephon Diggs is fine. I think other receivers on their team, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, even Dalton Schultz, are going to have more of an impact on him. The one I really hate is trading out Devin Singletary, who ended up signing with the Giants, and taking Joe Mixon. I think Devin Singletary is a much better running back at this point in their careers than Joe Mixon, and he was fine around what was a below-average offensive line. There was no point to go out and give Joe Mixon a multi-year deal, someone who wasn't even that good in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and Joe Mixon, he's definitely injury-prone as well. But I'm going to have to go, Derrick Henry, that was a big one. But, you also look at it, there's plays like the Bears got Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, one of the best receivers across the league. Now going from the Chargers to the Bears. The Chargers sold everybody, guys. What are your thoughts on that, Austin?
I think they're really banking on Quentin Johnson, their first-round pick from last year. I think they're looking for him to develop. He looked disappointing last season, but I think, like I've been saying, I think they're looking for him to develop. He's a big-bodied wide receiver who's also a deep threat. That's huge for a big arm like Justin Herbert. I think Joshua Palmer, he's not a bad second option for the Chargers. I think, they're really just looking to find somebody that can protect Justin Herbert, but I think their receiving options aren't horrible. So I don't, Keenan Allen's at the latter half of his career, and I also think that Mike Williams is also injury prone. So I'm not horribly disappointed with it. I think the Bills did even worse than the Chargers did.
Yeah, the Bills, they kind of sold off, and, Gabe Davis is gone, Diggs is gone. What are they going to do, Taggart?
I really think that their offseason it's been overblown just how poorly it's been. You lose Diggs, who, he had 1,100 yards, but he's definitely not the deep threat that he used to be, and you got more production out of guys like James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, and Khalil Shakir at the end of the season. And think of the pieces they lost defensively. Jordan Porter and Micah Hyde, they're both pushing 35. The pieces they lost, I would much rather lose these guys and get some younger talent in the building, and I think that's what their GM was thinking going into this offseason.
Yeah, and which teams do you guys think are, either better or worse? We mentioned a few of them already, but what other teams are out there you think have really either built a lineup or, sold out everybody? I'll go to Taggart.
I really like what the Packers have done. They brought in Xavier McKinney. I thought that was a huge addition, and they brought in addition by subtraction and letting go in a guy that I'm not a big believer in, and that's Darnell Savage. I just think that for what he does, which is be a slot defender, there are so many better slot defenders in his division. Just not just the league. There's better slot defenders in the division, like Brian Branch of the Lions. I really like what they've done. I think they bolstered that defense, which at the end of the season was really what kind of held them back a little bit. I think that's pretty much it for me as the Packers.
Yeah, you mentioned there, but the Lions, they've done a good job over the last couple of years kind of getting their squad together, and we could see them even better here in the next couple of years. But Austin, what teams did you see that have made some changes that you've liked and are either better or worse?
I really hate to say it as a Cowboys fan, but I really like the signings that Eagles did for coaching. That's what I'm really looking at here is coaching, getting Vic Fangio to coordinate that defense and Kellen Moore for the offense. I think after that Super Bowl run, they really lost those key coordinators that made Jalen Hurts look like an MVP candidate. And I think they finally have coordinators that can take that role, and Kellen Moore can give, somewhat of a running game to Jalen Hurts instead of forcing it down the middle on the 2-yard line. And that's kind of how we got injury prone to begin with. So I really like those coaching moves, along with the Falcons coaching moves, getting Zach Bryan and Robinson in, from the Rams to be the OC, and Raheem Morris, changing the culture there in Atlanta.
Yeah, changing for sure, but you kind of just talked about. Let's talk about the Cowboys real quick. Kind of stale. Not much going on there, Tiger. What do the Cowboys need to do? Jerry says this season they're going to be all in. Well, what does that mean?
I think Jerry's old and he doesn't really know what he's talking about at this point. It definitely wasn't all in, I can say that much. But to be fair to the Cowboys, I think other than Tyron Smith, their losses have also, just like the Bills, been a bit overblown. Losing Tony Pollard is not really that big of a deal. I think 2 years ago maybe it would have been, but you franchise tagged him last year, and he just wasn't the same player coming off of injury. I mentioned it, Tyron Smith leaving, that's a huge problem. Now you pretty much have to go tackle in the first round, which prior to that I don't think you had to. Bringing in Eric Kendricks, to whatever, losing Jaron Kearse, another guy that I don't really think was that great. I don't think they lost anybody super impactful outside of Tyron Smith. So I don't think it's as bad as fans are making it. It's just, given the promises that Jerry Jones brought, it's definitely not good.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And they have some contract issues as well. Austin, what do you think about these Cowboys?
I agree with Taggart here. I think it's been a lot of smoke has been blown when it comes to the Cowboys. It hasn't been as bad as people say. They did lose Tony Pollard. That's another thing, along with Tyron Smith, that I had complaints about from the offseason. They've really lost. They haven't really gained anything besides Eric Kendricks, but that's somebody that played under Mike Zimmer before. And I think he's also going to toughen up the defense. We're going to get Trayvon Diggs back, who's going to play the other side of Deron Bland, who really showed some potential last year. And I just think, just get CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott a contract. That's all that needs to happen in the offseason.
That's my
and
big
I won't be worried
frustration
about
with the
it.
team.
Yeah,
is
it's
the
the
lack of
contract
extensions.
situations.
Yeah, that seems easy to say. But now, guys, let's go ahead and talk about our top 5 mock draft real quick. Taggart, you first.
Yes. Okay. So I went more of a fun route. I'm not an NFL insider, so I can't sit here and be like, oh, hey, this is what's going to happen. I don't. I have the Bears with the first overall pick, taking Caleb Williams. Obviously, it's the smart choice here. It's the best choice. At second, I had the Commanders going Drake May. I know the talk here is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is just not the player Drake May is. And at 3, here's the fun part. I have the Bears trading up with the Patriots to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Is this going to happen? No. Would it be fun? Absolutely. You're pairing up the best quarterback and the best wide receiver in the draft. It would be great. And then I had the Chargers taking Joe out, kind of wrapping up that offensive line.
And Austin?
I'm also going to go Caleb Williams to the Bears, Jaden Daniels to Washington. I also really like Drake May to New England, Marvin Harrison to Arizona, and I like Joe Alt get a